Oh my gosh. So today we have 8 things that your wedding guests don't really care about. Sounds a bit harsh, doesn't it? But you know me, I'm one for being honest. And there are some areas within your wedding day that your guests just don't really care about. So before I go into it, let's just firstly remember that your wedding guests, family and friends, they care about you. So if these things are important to you, then they will care about them, but they won't mean the same to them as they do to you. So just remember that. When we're saying they don't really care about them, they care about you. They won't care about them in the way that you care about them. And if I just throw in some more care abouts, it's a bit of a tongue twister. The point in this video is just to remember, don't sweat the small stuff. If it's something that's stressing you out and it's something that your guests aren't going to really care about that much, then don't do it. Ultimately, it's your wedding day and you need to do what makes you happy. But if you're getting stressed, then don't worry about it, because that is what I am all about here, is trying to give you a stress-free journey as possible with your wedding planning. So let's dive in. A little side note. I am guilty of doing 6 out of these 8 things for my own wedding. Okay, so the first one is invitations. If you want to have beautiful invitations, then absolutely have beautiful invitations. If it's stressing you out or you're worried about your budget, just remember, your invitations are going to get sent to your guests. They are no doubt going to open them, get super excited because it's your wedding day and they look beautiful and it's giving them the first taste of what your wedding day could be like, and then they're going to go in the bin. So if it's stressing you out and you're worried about the budget, your guests don't really care about them that much, because eventually they're going to end up in the bin. I mean, I love stationery, absolutely love stationery. I am one of those people that puts my friends' invitations on the fridge, but eventually they go in the bin. So just remember that one. They don't really care about it. They'll get excited, but then they go in the bin. Programs and orders of service. Kind of the same as stationery, isn't it? They are super useful. I mean, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you've got hymns in your ceremony, you need to write those bad boys down, because there's people like me that no matter how many weddings I've been to, I still need the words written down. I'm somebody who thinks I know the words to things and I am singing completely the wrong words. So they are super useful, having orders of service, but your guests don't really care about them, let's be honest. You could just print out a sheet of paper with the words on and they'll probably be happy. That's not to say that you need to do that. It is lovely to have matching details with the rest of your wedding stationery, but don't put pressure on yourself if it's too much, because ultimately your guests aren't going to remember that too much. Some guests will keep them as a keepsake, and that is lovely, and they really are special friends, but the majority of your friends will put them in their handbag or they'll then put them in the bin. So don't stress about your orders of service too much if things are getting a little bit on top of you. Okay, linen. How many times have you walked away from a wedding of one of your friends or family and said, oh my gosh, those linens made the wedding, they stood out? Or have you sat down at the wedding table and gone, I really like these linens, they're lovely? You probably didn't. I probably would. Perhaps you didn't, and the majority of people wouldn't. Your guests don't really care about the linens too much. However, they might care about the overall look. So if you are going for an overall look within your wedding breakfast, when people walk in and they have a massive impact and it's amazing, then absolutely do it. Hey, and if I'm coming to your wedding, I will notice it because I love the details. But the majority of your guests will not notice the linens. So if you want to go for the plain white with no texture, that's absolutely fine. If you don't want to have linens because you've got trestles, that's really cool. And if you just want to have plain white napkins, that's also fine. It depends whether the design is really important to you. And if it's not, don't worry, because your guests don't really care about the linens. Okay, and the same kind of goes for plates. And I sit half and half here. So when it comes to your plates, your guests are not really going to notice the plate that your food comes out on. They will just be more excited about the food that's coming out, and they do care about the food. Trust me, the amount of people that leave a wedding and say, that food was amazing. They may not point out the plate it was on. So plain white plates are absolutely fine. Do not stress about it. Your guests do not care. However, if you want to have a beautiful charger on your place setting, they will probably notice that. They may not talk about it too much, but they will notice it, and it will build that impact and that design when they walk into that wedding breakfast room. The charger plate is not eaten from, and it's not a major extra cost, so that is something you may want to consider. But the actual plates the food is coming out on, hey, it's up to you. Favours. I'm pretty sure we're 50-50 here on favours nowadays. Some people want to do them, they want to thank their guests, and that's amazing, and I'm so with you. And others know that about 50% of the favours get left behind, because sometimes your guests really don't care about their favours, okay? You may put so much time and effort into those favours, but if they're not that personal, or they're a bit annoying to carry, they just don't care. I love the idea of small succulent plants, but what you need to remember is somebody gonna wanna carry that in their pocket or in their handbag? Probably not. And if they leave it on the table with the idea of picking it up at the end of the wedding, they are likely to forget to come back for it. So if you are going for favours, pick something that is either personal to you, consumable, or that is really, really special to them, that they will not forget it. And make sure it's easy to carry, because otherwise they really won't care. Shoes. You may be looking for the most perfect pair of wedding shoes, but let's just remember one thing. Your guests don't care about your wedding shoes. They do care about your dress. They probably won't be able to see your wedding shoes unless you're going for a short wedding dress. So wear something that's comfortable, wear something that you can wear again after your wedding day, and wear something that isn't going to get stuck in the grass. Cake. How often have you forgotten, honestly, how often have you forgotten to eat the cake at a wedding? At that point in the day, they're usually ready to get to the bar, to get on the dance floor, or they're starting to feel ready for a bit of a savoury snack because they've probably been drinking all day. They're not worried about cake. So if they're not that worried about cake, and you're not that worried about cake, maybe don't do cake. Do a small cake that you can cut, then do a cheese tower or a patisserie bar, or really think outside the box. If cake, however, is important to you and traditional to you, then absolutely do cake. And finally, the guest book. Your guests do not really care about your guest book, and they probably would have been drinking all day, and they are going to write absolute nonsense in your book. And sometimes it's a bit worrying what gets written in these books. Now, if you think that you really are going to sit down and read through that book and read through all those notes and perhaps relive the day, then go for it. And if you think that those drunken comments are really going to make you chuckle, and perhaps some interesting drawings, because some people get carried away, are going to make you laugh, then yes, go ahead. But not everybody will sign your guest book because they don't care that much. That's not that they don't care about you. They're probably on the dance floor with you instead of signing the guest book. They may not have remembered that there's a guest book. They may not have even noticed that there's a guest book. So don't be offended if people don't fill it in. They're just not thinking about it. They want to celebrate with you on the dance floor, and they may not be in a state to actually write a comment. However, if you want to go for a photo booth where people can stick pictures in and you want that sort of memento, or something completely different, like people writing post-it notes and popping them into a bottle and you opening on your first wedding anniversary to have a bit of a chuckle, then do that. Absolutely. But don't get stressed about it because your guests don't care about it that much. Okay guys, so that was a bit of a fun video this week. The point of the video, as I mentioned at the beginning, was don't let these things stress you out. Your guests care about you. They love you. They want to be there to celebrate your wedding, and they don't care about all the details as much as you do. So don't let it stress you out too much. The things that your guests will no doubt remember are that you were happy, that you were having the most amazing day, that they had a fantastic time celebrating you, and they will also remember the food and the entertainment, because that is what people just always tend to remember. I hope you found this video helpful. I will see you next week for another video of wedding planning goodness. See you later.